Hi Reddit. I have read some other weird shit people seen on this sub, and I wanted to share my own experience. Before anybody comments, I'm old enough to have known what I saw, and my therapist would consider me to be of good mental health. So here it goes, I guess. It all started when I took a walk with my brother. It was summer and hot as heck in our house, so we headed out for a walk together. We live in a smaller town. Maybe 40,000 people here, and we went for a nightly stroll as we normally do. All of a sudden there were shapes moving on the rooftops. He didn't notice it, but I did. Though I didn't think anything more of it until now. A couple of weeks later, my brother went off to college, not my thing, but I fully support him. I was going for another walk, this one a little later than the previous. I usually walk a mile each night, nothing too special, and I always let someone know my route before I go, just in case anything bad happens. So I was walking, and there's a small church near downtown. It has become sort of a hangout for teens and stuff, but no one should be there that late. From my time in Boy Scouts, I knew there was a basement door they kept unlocked. As I walked past it, I thought I saw a trail of blood leading down into it. I entered with caution. I thought I was pretty quiet, and nobody would be in the church at this time to hear me. It's just me there, and whatever left that trail. So I followed it down into the sorta ceremony hall within the bowels of the church. It was pitch black, and all I heard was this light dripping up on stage. I couldn't see it, and it might have not been able to see me either, but I had to help, whatever hurt thing left that trail. Not the best decision, but I was close to the light switch, so I flipped it. There was a man, a human man, with his teeth deep in some guy's neck. The guy had a broken leg and looked really bad. The guy was still moving, kicking his leg, covering the stage with blood. As those lights came on though, the man with a mouthful of the poor guy looked at me and stood up. I turned to run and nearly slipped in the blood. I got away, thank God, but he chased me, and damn he was fast. It's been a couple of days, or close to a week. I have stopped taking nightly walks because people will stare at me as I walk past them. There was this lady a day or two after who slowly followed me. She had a backpack over her shoulder. It smelled awful. There have been dead birds and shit showing up in my front yard, and I don't know what to do. I really need some advice quickly. Please help. Anyone?
After months of effort, I'm ready for my first hunt. My rite of passage to become a full vampire. It didn't take long to find suitable prey. I first noticed her jogging by my house every Saturday evening, always in the same crimson tracksuit. I carefully observed and analyzed her route, the same every week. Luckily for me, her run takes her through a pedestrian underpass tunnel. The tunnel didn't get much traffic and was long enough and curved in such a way as to provide sufficient seclusion for my purposes. Finally, the night to execute my plan arrives. I wait in the tunnel for my moment to strike. There's a large pillar in the middle of the tunnel, providing ample cover for a surprise attack. At 7:33 p.m., a bit later than usual, I hear the familiar rhythmic tapping of a single pair of sneakers hitting concrete. It's a precise sound I now know by heart. In an instant the moment came. I lunge at her as she passes me, tackling her to the ground. I salivate as I lay eyes on her exposed neck. I will finally taste blood for the first time. I will finally realize my destiny. Without further delay, I sink my canines into her jugular, feeling the spray of warm blood on my face. I eagerly let the blood flow into my mouth and slide down my gullet. As my prey's body goes limp, I feel the initial rush of adrenaline give way to a certain sinking feeling. As I cough up a mouthful of bitter, metallic fluid and feel my stomach churn, a few thoughts enter my head. Thoughts I hadn't allowed myself to think for months. As I hear a shriek and turn my head to see a terrified group of witnesses, these thoughts burn at the front of my mind. Maybe the doctors were right, I hear myself think. Maybe I'm not a vampire.
The hunger is back. You ate a few hours ago, just before dawn, but you already feel the gnawing, groaning pain in your stomach. Living off rats is not doing it for you. You need bigger prey. Tonight, you will drink a human. You weren't always like this. No vampire is born that way. You were made, and you aren't even sure by whom. You remember going out on New Year's Eve and having a few drinks and meeting an interesting couple and having some more drinks, and next thing you knew, you were vomiting 151 rum, pineapple juice, and Malibu all over your cargo shorts, and you thought, why am I wearing cargo shorts? And suddenly you wanted to drink blood, like, immediately, and you weren't ready to murder someone right away, but you didn't know where else to get blood. So you went to your neighbor, the one who always makes noise, and you drank them completely dry and went back to sleep and sort of forgot about it until you got hungry again. You lived off rats and other small animals for 13 days, which is about 11 days longer than average. But you don't think you can eat another rat, they never fill you up enough. And they taste a little horrible. And you don't exactly like the thought of murder, but you don't really see humans as completely human anymore. And besides, who's going to miss one or two humans when there are so many of them? You find a dark alley, and as soon as you start looking for a place to hide, a person comes up to you and is all like, "Excuse me, do you know where I can find the blah blah or whatever?" Who cares? Because next thing you know, you are biting their neck and sucking gallons of blood out in a matter of seconds and feeling super strong and holy shit. Friggin' wings pop out of your back and you leap into the air and start flying, and it feels amazing and you feel amazing, and this is going to be your year. You can feel it.
Evan is standing at the plastic window of the cheap plastic marquee, flanked by his parents, his sobbing young bride and all her family and friends. The sturdiest part of the structure are the poles placed at intervals around the outside, holding it up, all else is plastic walls, billowing slightly in the wind. Outside is a vast greenery, over which a horde of people are walking menacingly. Evan doesn't know what to do. He recognizes that this is a traveling band of vampires, looking regal in their velvet cloaks, but vicious too. As they approach even nearer, he sees their grins and the moonlight shining off their gleaming white fangs, and he shivers. Just 10 minutes ago, the happy couple and their guests were singing, dancing, eating, and drinking and having a good time. Now the music has stopped, and the uneasy silence reigns. There are no weapons, unless Kevin counts the cake knife. They have a finger food buffet laid out, so there are only flimsy throwaway forks. The banners and the balloons offer no safety. None of them are religious, so there are no crosses in the vicinity, and nothing he can make one with other than his arms, and he knows from news reports that that does not work. Even the 20 athletic young men present are no match for even one vampire with their exaggerated strength and frenzy for blood. Evan is supposed to protect his bride, but he can do nothing in this situation. He goes to the door end of the marquee, where the vampires will enter. He can at least offer himself up as first sacrifice. As he stands there helpless, the vampires stop at a distance of a few feet. The vampires stare at Kevin, not moving. Up close, he can smell the rotten flesh coming off them, and he heaves. What are they doing, he wonders. And suddenly, Kevin remembers. They can't enter a closed structure unless we invite them. There are cheers from the room, and everyone starts hugging in relief. We just stay where we are till dawn, and we will be okay. The lead vampire steps forward, and his grin intensifies, his fangs lengthening, and drool dripping off them in anticipation. Evan frowns. He recognizes him. Surely it can't be. But it is. His boss from work. And his coworkers. They're all holding pieces of paper. And suddenly Kevin feels sick. He sent them all invitations to the wedding.
Her name was Jenny, and she invited him to her place, but not at daytime. Frank wrote and asked if she was a vampire, and she wrote back if that would be a problem. And he answered her he had not got laid in so long, so he wouldn't give a shit. Next from her came a smiley laughing tears. Her basement apartment's floor was littered with baby toys, so when he entered he understood why they met at this hour. She had a newborn and took care of it alone, so she didn't get much rest during the day. Or the night. Or ever most likely. Is that a problem? Jenny said. I put her crib in the kitchen. She should be asleep for at least an hour now. Frank shrugged. That app was meant for go, not to find the one. He was not mad at her for not mentioning she was a mum. They would never meet again after this, and were both okay with it. When they had finished their business, he put his pants back on and went into the kitchen for water from the sink. He left his glasses on the living room table and left the kitchen light off on purpose, but still, the blurry sight of the crib was enough to make him feel like a selfish prick. He should have waited and just drink something at home. On top of it, the baby started crying. He took the 2 steps towards where the crib stood and gently touched the blanket. Hey, relax, Mum's on her way. He heard Jenny getting up from the couch next door. Want to know something? He stroked the blanket. My dad pissed off when I was little too. I feel you. By his stroking, the blanket slipped and the little girl's face appeared. She showed tiny pointed teeth as she stared at him, with reptilian eyes, from an open-mouthed face. He knew it was just a feeling of guilt, plus the dark and no glasses, but still, Frank bowed down to make sure. When he got close, she hissed like a snake sensing a threat. Something connected with the back of his head, and the world imploded in crimson colors. Frank was aware he was lying on the kitchen linoleum, with his limbs trembling, and him unable to do anything about it. Same as his bladder let go. In his head he screamed, but the actual sound was more like somebody felt he had throw up, and then opened his mouth and nothing happened. Jenny stood over him, with a hammer in her hand. More steps next door, nearing the kitchen. Steps and a hissing sound. With his smashed and brain shutting down, one cell at a time, Frank understood he hadn't met a fellow sufferer. More like a provider. This girl's dad had never pissed off, and he had intruded a perfectly intact family. At dinner time. And that was a problem.
Monica, open the goddamn door.
He pounds again. The doorknob rattles, and the screws in the hinges creak against the wood. I tell myself he can't get in. It may be his house, but it's my bathroom, my little oasis. I have the key. He's locked out, but…
Monica, you bitch.
But I still flinch every time he unleashes his fury on the door, his primal rage, as I know what he would do to me if he got in. Last time he was this angry, it was a broken tooth and 2 cracked ribs. I still shift as I sit from the bruises on my hips and back. I lean on my right arm, my left one clicks at the elbow. The price of a moment of independent expression.
Monica, baby, open the door. I know you can hear me. Monica, please.
He stops yelling. An eye of the storm. I used to fall for it. He'd say sweet things, say he was sorry, how much he loved me. I'd open the door and he'd paint me a picture of that love in blues and purples across my face. Not this time.
And open the door.
He punctuates his words with shoulder checks. I sink into a sea of curtains on the floor, which was also part of the reason for his rage. The curtains weren't working for me anymore. See, I did some redecorating. In his house, the house that I just happened to live in. My bathroom, the guest bathroom, is the only room in the house that doesn't need curtains. It's a closet with a chipping clawfoot tub, but it has personality. A little Klimt print, a knobbly bath mat.
Monica.
I look at my watch. 5:53 a.m. So late that it's early, but he won't sleep. Not with me in the bathroom, and his anger unbeaten. I light a candle with a shaky hand. Bluebells. Pretty. I close my eyes and clutch the key to my chest as he batters the door. Not this time.
Monica, so help me, if you don't open the door, I will flay the skin from your body inch by inch, and then wring you out into the f***ing tub.
He's so fixated on his easy vengeance that he is not paying attention to the time, a big mistake for a vampire. And I am not giving him back the curtains. The windows are staying bare. He can slam the door all he wants, it's not even locked, but when he convinced me to move in, he said that the guest bathroom was all mine. That was enough. He's lost his invitation.
Monica, please open the door. I will change.
Desperation. 6:01 a.m. He's seen the sky outside begin to lighten. He left the door for a moment to go for his coffin, but like I said, I have the key. He's locked out.
Baby, I swear I'll change.
He won't. He has said that before, but he has had 2 centuries to change. And old habits die hard.
Please subscribe or the burned vampire will come for you.